My name is Night Jean. I'm a youth leader in the community. I'm also a board member on the Providence Public School Board.
Say your last name first.
Muhingabo, Muhingabo. Currently, I'm the chair of the Health and Awareness Committee. I want to thank everybody for coming today. We are holding this press conference to ask the commissioner and school leadership team to put an immediate pause on school closing plans. If you remember last year, there was a leak that the school department had plans to close 2 elementary schools and 1 middle school. The decision was made by the commissioner and the school leadership team. They didn't involve parents, teachers, students, community members, or the school board. This shows that the commissioner don't care about our community or the board opinion. I personally learned about the school closure on Twitter. The lack of community inclusion, closing our school without involving parents and teachers is unacceptable. Since they made these decisions, parents at Lauro and Feinstein, they have asked to meet with the commissioner and the school leadership team. But I'm very disappointed to let you know that they are refusing to meet with them. Parents are asking questions like, where are they going to send my kids? And they are wondering if the kids gonna be in the same school next year. Teachers are asking if they're gonna lose their jobs. These students at these schools have been getting special services that they might not get elsewhere. These students have created special bonds with the teachers and administrators, and I think it is unhealthy to break them. Closing this school will hurt a lot of students. And I also want to add, I've been talking to a lot of refugee parents, and they have children that attend Gilbert Middle School.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I've been talking to refugee parents. They have children, a lot of children that attend Gilbert Middle School. When I told them this month that they were going, the school districts have planned to close Gilbert Middle School next year, they were surprised. Most refugee youth at Gilbert Middle School, they are new into the country, trying to integrate to the American society, learning a new language, trying to make new friends. Closing this school and trying to move them to another schools will hurt them. So this is what we are asking. We are asking for the commissioner and the school leadership team to immediately pause the school closure plans. We are asking the commissioner and the school leadership team to meet with parents at these 2 elementary schools and also at Gilbert Middle School. We are also asking the commissioner and the school leadership team to release minutes and the attendee list from a secret school closure meetings. We are also asking for all school board members to speak up against school closure and address the commissioner leadership. Because if we don't speak up, they will start closing our school one by one and turn into charter schools. Lastly, I want to address this. If you remember last year, we received an anonymous letter from 8 district leaders regarding allegation of toxic leadership and abuse of power. Rhode and the school department told the board and community member on record that they were conducting an investigation, and we trusted them. This week I learned from the school leadership team, from the board leadership team, that the district never conducted an investigation. John Jackson, the senior advisor to the superintendent, have helped create a culture of retaliation here in the Providence Public Schools. So I'm asking for the district to launch an investigation and also to take a look into these allegations. We have Representative Sanchez going to speak with.
Sure. Thank you, President. Good morning, everyone. My name is Enrique Sanchez, State Representative, House District 9, ENRIQE, Sanchez, SANCHEZ. I want to thank my colleagues and friends and allies, Night Jean and Tyrell, for the invitation here to speak on this matter. As many of you know, we have been facing a state takeover here in Providence Schools that has not been delivering for communities for our youth, for our parents, for students, and things have just gotten worse. We have heard of these retaliations against administrators of color, administrators who are doing their job, who are from the community, and I just want to echo Mr. Night Jean's words as well around the senior advisor, Joanne Jackson. I have heard not positive things about her. I have seen and I have witnessed the cultural pushback that she has created with administrators, with teachers, with folks who are trying to do the right thing. And this is coming as an elected official who has been paying attention, observing, and analyzing the situation here in the school district. I understand the schools are under state takeover right now. I understand as board members, as state representatives, senators, city councils, we can't really do much because Rhode is in control of the schools, and Rhode is supported by the governor supports the mayor supports the state takeover, etc. I want to echo the ASF school closure stuff. So the governor, the mayor, Rhode, and some other folks on the school board weren't bringing light to the school closures at ASF, at the other two elementary schools as well, Gilbert Stuart Middle School and the one down the street as well. Everyone was quiet about those school closures. But now there's a current lease agreement trying to be settled between Achievement First and also Fortes Elementary School at the City Council. And that negotiation was tabled till next week. It's funny. It's a coincidence that the mayor decides to speak up and advocate for the youth at Achievement First and parents at Achievement First, but he's silent, completely silent on the school closures and the students and the parents at ASF Elementary School. And I'm sure all of you know that that is what has happened. He went on WPRI 2 days ago and he stated he put pressure on the city councilors to not to sign that lease agreement and extend that lease agreement for AF at Fortes Elementary School. That to me is hypocritical. And so if we're going to advocate for all parents and students and teachers and community members, it has to be at public schools, private schools, and charter schools. Everyone equal at the same time. But it seems like someone is protecting their interests and advocating on a base of conflict of interest. That's what it is, simply. So we are here as not just people in these positions, but people who care about our communities, people who we reflect the body, the youth of our youth here in Providence. I mean, we're from the community. We've been here. Our families have been here for decades. We've lived the injustices, that institutional racism, that poverty, that all these problems have been occurring for our Providence kids generation after generation, and we're tired of it. We advocate that we want to see our youth flourish. We want to see our youth do well in school, advocate, become the future leaders. But the moment that we're here, look what we're dealing with. A state takeover run by people who want to charter up our schools, who want to privatize our school district, break unions, break the public education system. We're being run by a school district that has created a working space of toxicity and racism, and has pushed back and has pushed out many school leaders who have been putting in the work for our youth for years. So I just want to echo those words. Just want to remind folks why we're here, and I'll leave it to my colleague Tyrell. If you want to answer some questions.
Yeah, forgive me, but Representative, what is the conflict of interest that you see?
So, the mayor, I understand, is automatically, I was told, is put on the Achievement First Rhode Island School board, right? Automatically, right? All right, I understand. But you, as a mayor, sitting on a position, you go out of your way to state this publicly, that you would feel saddened, or it would be a disservice to the students, to the parents, if that school was to not get the lease agreement. Okay, I think you need to be quiet in that moment. I think you need to not say anything. You can't advocate for an agreement when you were or are sitting on a school board that that entity is trying to advocate for. That is a conflict of
You
interest.
see that as a conflict?
I do see that as a conflict of interest.
Okay.
So, any questions? Anything else from my end?
Who else?
Yes.
Somebody else?
Hey everyone, Tyrell Stevens from the Providence School Board. I just want to share.
What's your first name again?
Tyrell Stevens, Ty''Relle. There's Stevens with the PH. I just want to state on the record that I do in fact seem to believe that there is in fact some fishy business going on. I am not liking what I'm seeing, from the appointments of board members to the current situation with the school closures, to me reaching out to the mayor and not getting a response back to meet with him. Like I said, I seem to believe that there is in fact some fishy business going on. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it has to stop. This is the reason why the school department is continuously on the news, because we're currently not sort of doing what we need to do as it pertains to transparency. We're not doing what we need to do as it pertains to people retaliating on one another. We need to stop that. We need to ensure that our students and families are put first, and that's something that I don't see. I don't like to get into race wars. That's not what I do. But the majority of this district is black and brown students and families. And when I look at central office and I look at who's hiring the individuals, I don't see the same. And I think that that's a concern as well. We need to ensure that we have transparency on all four fronts. I've advocated and I've made it clear over the record of the senior advisor. I don't want to say too much about it, but I continuously hear and see retaliation on her part. We have an individual that was in our district named Patricia Royal, who is the new superintendent of Pawtucket Schools. We hurried up and threw her out the door because I seem to believe that people was upset that a woman of color got a job in Pawtucket. So they threw her out the door yesterday and said, we no longer want her here. We want to sort of send her on her way. So I really just want to make clear that there is in fact fishy business going on. It's the end of the school year. I'm upset that I'm here once again advocating and saying the same thing. You guys continuously see me. We need to ensure that transparency is on all four fronts. School closures. We need transparency. There was no transparency. Like my colleague Night Jean said, the school closures need to stop immediately. It's just that simple. There's no way that the school should be closed in the way that it was sort of closed. And I think that that's something that we've already talked about, something that I've already talked about, and I'm just concerned. I'm concerned with the overall way that the district is functioning. I'm upset with how things are going. I'm upset that it's the last day of school and we are currently here speaking about the same thing, lack of transparency. Something needs to give. I'm calling on the mayor to do something. I'm calling on the mayor to meet with me. It's upset that I have to, as a board member, come here to ask the mayor to meet with me about what's going on. All right, so that's just my concerns. And I think that, like I said, the mayor, in fact, does need to speak up. Yes, the mayor appoints me to my position, but I'm not afraid to get unappointed. I just want to make that clear as well. We need to do our jobs. At the end of the day, the mayor needs to do his job. Don't want to call him out, but I have to call him out. We need to do our job. We need to be transparent. That's the reason why the residents voted him in as mayor. It's no longer a commissioner and superintendent thing. No longer that. I see that the mayor's highly involved with what's going on, and I need the mayor to speak up and advocate for the students and families. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, everyone. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Have you guys been in the schools that are closing?
Oh yes. So I've been invited. So there's after school program at Gilbert Middle School where Docas International students. They have created a refugee programs and also a soccer program after school. So I visited some of the schools.
I toured the schools back in the fall, and some of the conditions that I saw in there, these schools aren't in the best of conditions. What do you say to parents who are excited to get a new school? I mean, don't we want the kids in 21st century learning buildings?
So if we're gonna talk about school closures, this has been the biggest issue overall. If we're gonna try to get new schools, let's build new schools all around, and every school. If we're gonna talk about all schools are in bad conditions, well, most of Providence schools are in bad conditions. The problem here has been the lack of transparency, communication on behalf of Rhode, and the school district with the parents, students, community members, and teachers. That's the overall agenda here. There's been no communication. There's no plan to build another school on Gilbert, Stuart. There's no plan to build a school at ASF. There's no plan to build another school or to invest in those schools in the other one that's down the street. I think it's Webster or Webster Avenue. Yes. So there has been Carlo Street. There has been no plan of, hey, this is what we're developing. Hey, this is the school that we're going to build on these properties now, where these schools are going to be removed, or closed. Excuse me. So that has been the number one problem here, and there's no transparency, communication. And any other school district, any other city and town, or anywhere across the country, there would have been a process, transparency, communication, letters going out, preparing parents and teachers and students for these changes. A year or 2 years before, they did it in less than 6 months.
Who do you complain to? I mean, you've got a superintendent, you've got a mayor, you've got a commissioner, you've got a governor, and I mean, is there? Where does the buck stop? This will have to finish next year when the state takeover are supposed to go back to the schools in September of 2024, and we're going to make sure that is planned, and we're going to make sure in the General Assembly. I'm going to wait until this fellow finishes.
Sure. Yeah, I'm so sorry. They just called me. I'm sorry I'm late, guys.
You're good.
I was somewhere else.
We've all been there.
I apologize.
Oh, you're good.
We've all been there. It's just probably going to make some noise. And we got the bus.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So, like I said, this state takeover is set to finish in September of 2024. We are going to make sure that this is enforced within the K-12 Elementary and Secondary Education Council. If there's plans to extend that state takeover past that, we're going to make sure that we take aggressive action and make sure that we prevent that. And yes, the governor is supported, has been an advocate for charter schools. The mayor has been an advocate for charter schools. The commissioner has been an advocate for charter schools. And the school district leaders don't really care, and they're advocate. They just listen to whoever tells them what to do. So yes, there is a agenda of pro-charter schools, and let's stop denying or let's stop ignoring the fact that that's what they want to do. They want to charter up and privatize the school education system. There's nothing wrong with the current charter schools. The problem is when there's divestment of defunding of public school funds, Providence taxpayer funds, Rhode Island taxpayer funds, investment into private entities and corporations and charter networks that are run by wealthy, white, elite folks.
So you're thinking that the closures play into an agenda of advancing charter schools?
Yes, I do.
So yesterday, the Providence City Council tabled a motion because there was an update to the contract with Team First.
The lease
agreement. Sorry.
The lease agreement was presented to the city councilors at 1:30 in the afternoon. 1:30 in the afternoon.
I just want to share really quick because I know you want to go. I'm starting to see, it's seeming to believe, and I hate to say it, but I'm starting to believe that the state takeover was strategically done, and it was strategically done to give Rhode all of the authority so people can do what they want to do, which sort of makes charters. And even if families, board members, community members speak up, there's nothing that no one can do because it was strategically done so they can do what they want to do, which is to bring in more charters, make any kind of decisions that they want for our families and students, and there be no accountability. So I'm starting to seem to believe as if it was all strategically planned, and it's a concern. It's a concern, and like I'm happy that Representative Sanchez is here because we're going to really need to end this, or it's going to be a mess. I really believe it's going to be a mess, and it's going to get worse. So,
Brother Gary, Black Lives Matter, Rhode Island founder. I just want to say that we're in a depth right now of education. Rhode Island is one of the largest. Providence is one of the largest schools in the district. Lower education is prominently here. So the takeover, it was already in process, right? When you talk about black and brown kids being deprived of education, this is a prime example, right here in this district of Rhode Island. It's horrible. And you know, we as advocates, we care about our black and brown kids. So there's got to be better ways for advocacy. You know, way better and methods that we can use for the community. So, thank you.
Any questions?
Any other questions? Right. Thank you, everybody. I'm thankful.
To be continued.
Yes.
Start of the next school year, you think?
Correct.
So one last question for Rep Sanchez. So you and Rep Rhode had a couple of bills that look to stop school closures in Providence. I know that those did make it out of session. Do you plan to push those further moving forward?
Yes. Addressing our housing crisis and our education crisis are going to be top priorities for next legislative session on my end. And I'm going to, instead of putting in several dozens of bills, I'm going to be focusing on a few of those bills around education and housing.
And one of those will include the school closure bills?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And trying to change up the language of the bill.
What would that say? Don't close the schools, or?
So that's what I haven't mentioned, that we want to make sure that this state takeover ends in September of 2024. And if we need to make sure that we implement a bill that will address and act aggressively to make sure that date is enforced, that's what we're going to work on.
Do you think
That'll be how many years? That'll be 5 or?
That would be since 2019.
That's fine.
5 years. 5 years.
Okay.
Do you think it's too little too late for this to continue into next school year because all the kids at Lauro and Feinstein are going to be placed into new schools?
Rep Morales had put in a bill this past session that would make it a more transparent process and more communicative and prevent more school closures on behalf of Rhode, and making sure that the K through 12 Elementary and Secondary Education Council enforces that for other schools. I don't think these 3 schools closing down is going to be the end of it. I don't think these are going to be the last schools to be announced to be closed in the next year or 2. School districts.
So how hopeful are you that they do cause the school closures? And that's
we need to make sure that the state takeover ends by 2024, September 2024, by next year, and that's it. That's the end of the word here. Things are getting very hostile. With forget the divide between the unions and Rhode. It's these kids. It's these youth. It's the parents, it's the community leaders, the teachers that are feeling the ramifications of this dangerous state takeover. Things weren't perfect before, things weren't better, or even better before, prior to the state takeover. The state takeover has created a direct impact, negative impact on the education of our youth. Teachers are leaving. If there's no teachers, who's going to teach our kids? Teachers are leaving in hundreds and hundreds, yes.
What is for the future of these schools? Because they're sick buildings. They're very sick buildings. I wouldn't want my child in there, especially Colorado. Been there?
Yes.
What is your suggestion?
So we need these were priorities in our agenda for the General Assembly. We didn't address the education funding formula per pupil. We didn't ratify the amendment, the constitutional right to education in the budget. We didn't create a more progressive educational, and I'm not saying ideologically, but a more open and transparent education system for our youth. We need to really not just increase the budget for Providence schools by $5 million. We need to increase the Providence schools budget in the state budget by millions and millions and dozens of millions of dollars, not just by $5 million. That's not going to do any slight improvement for our schools. Honestly, if it was up to me, school leadership at school district and Rhode would reflect the people running these schools at PPSD and Rhode would have to, the main leadership, to me, should reflect the Providence school districts. I don't see too many Black and Latino people in these positions. I know there are some people there who identify as Latino or people of color, but I want to see people that look like us. You know, literally look like us, who understand the materialistic conditions of the issues that our schools and community members have been living through for years. and we're just seeing a bunch of nepotism, a bunch of people playing the a guy who knows a guy, card to get into these positions, and we're tired of it. And at Ride, a bunch of people are there who are from out of the states, who didn't grow up in Providence schools, who didn't go to Providence schools, who don't have kids in Providence schools. You have people up there who are disconnected completely from the reality that thousands and thousands of Providence families, youth, and kids and teachers are living, and have been living for decades. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate you guys for coming.
Thank you.